Good morning. So, I've been thinking about learning. A few things have prompted it. As part of FFConf, I'm always interested in hearing from speakers who have just started out in the industry and seeing how they learn and what part those individuals who have been in the industry for a longer time can kind of play to help guide them along, if they need any guidance. That is, I've got 22 years. I started out in '99, so 21 years industrial experience, and I've been, as in paid professionally to build websites, and I've been writing JavaScript or some form of JavaScript that entire time. And in fact, I was writing JScript, I guess it was called, for IE. I was doing Windows shell scripting, which was kind of a Windows-based JavaScript type thing in '96. Anyway, the point is that I've been doing it for such a long time, I've kind of forgotten how I even know what I know. It's one of those things, JavaScript today to me, and HTML and CSS, it's just something that's kind of baked into my brain. I just know a whole bunch of it. And I've been asking myself, how did I learn? I was doing a code bar yesterday, and sitting with one of the students, and they asked me, how did I learn? When I've been asked that question, it's usually for advice on where to go, what to read, and so on. And I've been asking myself the same question, 20 years ago, how did I learn about the web? How did I learn about what HTML could do, and particularly HTML and JavaScript? I wasn't that into CSS. I think I struggled with it a little bit. So, oh gosh, brake on this car. It was, how did I kind of explore HTML and CSS? And that is it. It was exploration. One of the key things that I did, and I still do today, is in the browser tools, and the browser tools were not good back then, I would take a DOM node or a property or some kind of function, object in the browser, and I would just look through all of its properties, looking for words that I didn't recognize. So the way that you do that today maybe is, if you open up DevTools and go to the Elements panel and go into the element properties, there's all of the properties that the DOM node has, right? So it will list all of the event handlers it has. Jesus, the guy in front of me is speeding. And it's 20 miles an hour along here. Really don't need to speed here. Yeah, so it'll list out all of the event listeners, and you'll see them. They'll just be on input equals null, which gives you a really good idea as to what are all the event listeners that you can attach to that particular DOM node. If you open up, take the document object, so if you cycle all the way to the top, you can look through all of the root level document properties and see what's on there. And this is how I recently discovered things like the hidden property. So you have a hidden property on DOM nodes, which is just true or false. It's there as a DOM node. You can add it as an attribute in the HTML, and it will make the element visibly hidden. That was a few years ago I spotted that. Looking through the window object in the console, I discovered some new APIs. So probably about a year ago, or or just shy of a year ago, I spotted that there was the wake lock. No idea how to use it because it wasn't documented at the time, but it's just started to, I think it's landed in either Canary or maybe as an experiment. But we now have a wake lock. So what that means is we can say to the browser window, stay on, right? For things like recipe books or timer programs or stuff like that, which is pretty neat. But yeah, that's how I did a bunch of my my learning. I would just there's across. I would basically kind of explore, and that was one of the key ways that I would learn, and I still do it today. So I'm quite I learn through kind of practical experimentation. I can't even remember. I don't think I read any books on HTML and CSS. I'm sorry. God, brake on his car. I don't remember reading any books that helped me, to be honest. And I don't remember. There was only a handful of websites that I would read. Dean Edwards was one of them. But that, the techniques are so old today that you wouldn't really need them. But I think finding a blog that you can kind of really connect with and has a lot of information on it, I think is useful, and there's lots out there. But yeah, Dean Edwards was one of them back then. And yeah, experimentation, skimming through properties. Oh, and specs. I would not particularly read the specifications for HTML, but I would kind of skim up and down them, looking for words that I didn't recognize. And if I spotted a method or a property or anything like that I didn't recognize, I would then read about it, find out what it did, and kind of tuck that away in the back of my head for some future use. So yeah, and that was over 10 years ago. I started in the industry, paid in the industry in '99. Started writing HTML and more in 97, 98, something like that. To be paid for a job. I was writing a kiosk for IE4, which was a pretty amazing browser back then. But I'd love to know how you learn. If you're an oldie or if you're a newbie, someone coming to the industry, I'd love to know what techniques you use to learn. Particularly as I'm going to these code bars and I'm being asked that question, I'd love to be able to kind of pass on any advice. So cheers, yeah, let me know.